Welcome to our first video live from the Emerald City, the Ethereum core, the immutable fortress, where the law of the land is code and the grass is always greener, ETC Labs in sunny San Francisco. And today I've got Stevan Lohja, who is our technology coordinator at ETC Labs core. Stevan, great to have you today.
Thanks for having me, Dean. How are you?
I'm great, and it was a good call that we had about an hour ago. So it's good to be doing a video soon after. Um, as this is our first video, I think it makes sense to kind of introduce Stevan, who's critical to what we're going to be doing on the technology side at ATC Labs. So, Stevan, kind of introduce us how you got introduced to ETC.
Yeah, I got it was quite the journey. I started off as a miner, you know, using the garage as my mining facility or whatever, and that was kind of like my side thing. And I really believe in decentralization. I believe in decentralized monetary systems, the philosophy of it, and the value proposition it has to society. And um, and so I was contributing as a minor. And then I was also working in education, as in the academia side with online education, doing multimedia development. And I started to, from being a minor, I started to get more involved into the development side of things. And at first, I was actually more involved in the ETH side of things, trying to use ETH for decentralized education solutions like tokenized degrees or competency verification, those type of things. And and then I started to research more. And when I got more involved, I started to find out more about the DAO and what that meant, um, and the philosophy and the values. I was just, oh, I'm totally going to go to ETC right now. Started even mining ETC, and started getting more involved in the development side of things. Like I even had a paper saying how we could do these tokenized competencies, and then I just changed everything to Ethereum Classic. I just went straight out. Let's go ETC, um, and totally believed in it. And from there, I wanted to get even more involved. I was just craving to get more and more involved, and I saw ETC Dev was looking for a technical writer. So so I applied there, and I joined ETC Dev and as a technical writer, doing documentation, learning a lot, because as a technical writer you have to learn a lot, and then write the documentation to help other people learn. And coming from academia, I have a passion for education and teaching people about blockchain or blockchain cryptocurrencies, and especially Ethereum Classic, which I love. It was a fabulous thing to do. And then from ETC Dev eventually had a funding issue, and so now I'm regrouped at ETC Labs Core as a technology coordinator. I wear a few hats here, coordinating with the community and other teams. I also hope to provide more documentation, tutorials, resources, and DApp education all about ETC. And I think a lot of things we're going to be doing. It's gonna be awesome for the year. And it's a new year, new team, and here we are.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where this is something that's needed, and the fact that you joined ETC from a philosophical standpoint, I think resonates with almost everybody that's part of the community. What else do you think makes ETC unique? Is it really that um, immutability, the way the DAO went down? Do you think that that's created the DNA of the ETC community?
Oh yeah, I think absolutely. I like to say, you can even say, never forget the Tao. Some of us say that. And you know, from a principled perspective, I'm also a principled person. I like to follow certain values and stuff. And that's something that I appreciate in the ETC community, where people are like, okay, we have these certain promises that are almost universal principles. And when the DAO happened, ETC side said, hey, this is a decentralized public blockchain. We cannot bail out this DAO ICO. And I also believe with that. And I personally didn't agree with bailing out the DAO ICO, just like I don't agree with the government bailing out Bank of America. That's kind of like how I felt about it. So from there, that's kind of like what resonates with me and everyone else in the ETC community. And also as far as like what the future holds for ETC, it's like it's almost as if ETC has great yin and yang. It has these universal principles, and there's pros and cons to every design principle or what you follow. But we're decentralized, immutable, and unstoppable. So that means your decentralized public blockchain. No one's going to mess with your store of value or your dApps, and there's non-transaction reversal, which is immutability, and unstoppable. And whatever you deploy today should work in the future. That's the point of blockchain, and the point to have your decentralized applications. If you make a decentralized application today, you shouldn't have a group of developers saying that that your dApp's going to be irrelevant in the future or in like a year from now because of some update. And that's something that's really important about the ETC promise, is to make sure that backward compatibility is there, that decentralization, the store value or store of your applications. And a great way to there's a story of Jimmy. If you never heard about Jimmy, I'll teach you about him. But and this is a great intro to the philosophical part about ETC. So you have this young boy named Jimmy. Jimmy is with his father, and they're cooking a barbecue. And Jimmy's father says, "Don't touch this grill. It is very hot. You're going to burn yourself. You're going to bleed, whatever." So Jimmy fails to listen. He's seen televisions. He plays video games. He's seen what flamethrowers do. So Jimmy still goes and touches the grill, and then Jimmy burns his hand, and Jimmy cries, whatever, and he gets burned and stuff. So, and you could say he's learning a lesson, which obviously he is. And so what is Jimmy going to be doing after he burned himself? He's probably going to listen to his father more. He's probably not going to touch hot things to burn himself. And overall, he's going to become the stronger version of himself. And you can see that what happened, and sticking to your guns and owning up to events and your principles, you do become the stronger version of yourself. And Jimmy did not have if Jimmy were to, and the thing about the DAO is you're able to, with digitalization, you kind of have the privilege to forget things, which is what the DAO ICO did, to try to pretend the event didn't happen. And if Jimmy would have pretended he didn't burn his finger, is he really learning, or is he just gonna, is he possibly gonna lean on that, try to magically forget that he burned himself, and he's never gonna learn from that mistake. And that's a universal value applied to blockchain, or to even your human behavior. Everyone could benefit and become the stronger version of themselves. And ever since the DAO ICO, ever since ETC Dev had funding issues, ever since the 51% attack, we've been nothing more than growing, getting stronger, problem identification, how do we solve this? And, and with high assurance software, that's what you need. You can't, you have to tread slowly. And, have you ever heard of the tortoise and the hare? I think it's slow and steady wins the race.
Definitely. And, I think when you talk about the community forming around ETC because of this philosophy, it resonates in the fact that you can expect things will not change in the future. One of the strongest selling points for Bitcoin is that it's a fixed supply and no one's questioning that. If you had a very, let's say, questionable group of people in charge of decision making and updating code there, you would start to question that decision. A lot of the questioning of caps and how the growth of other coins are going to be is where they lose out, I think, against ETC, where there is no question about the belief structure, the fact that it will remain proof of work, that we're going to stay capped at 210 million coins. So with the philosophy intact, I think that that's one of the key reasons why someone would want to build on ETC, that you can expect what you've mentioned, the backwards compatibility. You can expect that will stay as a proof of work. You can expect that there's going to be a fixed supply cap.
And just to echo on your point on the fixed supply cap, I mean, the whole catalyst for cryptocurrency as a blockchain is, from the current system and the problems we had, and it's kind of ironic that just the inception of Bitcoin came around 2008, 2009 times, and in the monetary cap, a lot of people from ETC, they're sick of the inflationary systems that could be used and abused, and the deflationary system. In ETC, I'm really happy that they adopted, because originally it wasn't, that cap wasn't there, but I'm really happy they adopted that, and that's another reason what as you say, like what resonates with all of us.
And now as a builder, I think that having that certainty that things won't change in the future is critical. But outside of just the philosophy part, what do you think ETC has that benefits builders in today's blockchain environment?
Well, I would say today, with ETC, it is an Ethereum-based protocol, and some of the reasons I'm gonna mention are also what some Ethereum folks wanting to move their stuff to ETC feel, but the promise of backward compatibility and what you build today is going to work tomorrow is one of the big value propositions that ETC has to builders. You don't want the builders like ETC Labs Core or whatever other core team. You don't want them telling you, "Hey, your DApp is now going to be irrelevant in the future, or it's going to be irrelevant next month. You have to update, or else you're out of luck." And that's something that ETC wants to promise, and that's one of the big value things is you want to deploy your application, and you want your application to stay on the blockchain forever. That's the promise. That's even the promise for blockchain. Why should you don't want to you deploy an app, it's going to be there, it's deployed. That means it's not going to be irrelevant just because a bunch of developers said it's irrelevant. And and that's one of the main things. And right now the chain's fairly small. We still have a similar problems as ETH, but right now it's still a smaller chain. The gas is a little cheaper, so people could come now and be able to develop on a cheaper scale at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's that combination of philosophy and the fact that you can build today cheaper and expect the same kind of functionality. I also see that with the projects that have joined ETC Labs. I think I want to kind of change gears now and talk a bit more about ETC Labs. How do you think ETC Labs will affect the ETC community? What do you think ETC Labs will be bringing to ETC?
Well, ETC Labs is obviously contributing a lot to ETC, and I think helping with their incubator program is a great way that's going to help a lot of these teams and startups start getting their projects on ETC and implementing them on ETC. And you know what? When people say And when you say, oh, who's the developers? It's like, okay, all these incubator teams that are also working on ETC, those guys are also developers too. They're all working on ETC. It's not just the core team.
Developers does that put this at now? I mean, with your develop, with the core team's what, about 9 people, we said?
Yeah, about 9 people. Yeah, it's about 9 people. It might be a little bit more, but
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's
So there's going to be developers joining ETC just by virtue of having an incubator focused on ETC projects.
yeah, sure. And the cool thing about ETC Labs and ETC Labs Core is it's great for what what core teams really need and what they lack in is the talk to your customer type of conversations. And I think the association of ETC Labs, the incubators, and trying to get a close relationship with them is a great thing for us to for the core team to know more about what do people actually need on chain and what solutions can we provide people open source to everyone. Because engineers generally think they know it all. They think they know what they're doing, or they think they know what people need. But it's about getting those talk to your customer type of conversations. So we help maintain a open source community project, and I think that's gonna help us build great things. And the incubators themselves, um, they're gonna be making their own innovations on ATC. So there's going to be, there's an exchange of knowledge everywhere. There's an exchange of value, whether that's code, ideas. So it's definitely going to be like a spark of innovation, and I'm pretty excited for that.
The community grows faster when there's feedback loops, and what ETC Labs has built definitely will help things progress quicker. Speaking of progress, what are some of the things people should get excited for? What's coming next from the Core Lab team?
I think well, with the recent 51% attack, people are like, "What are you guys doing?" Well, okay, well, go to etclive.status. We're working on chain monitoring and analysis tooling and trying to get those out to people as soon as possible. And I think, exchanges, um, mining pools, it really benefits everyone to just know the security in the network. That's like the immediate more. It's more of a necessity. Otherwise, what I'm particularly most excited about is JSON RPC schema. And so the JSON RPC schema will right now when you develop on dApps, you kind of need like Web3 or Emerald JS for your dApps to communicate. And so you have this library being the intermediary for all your decentralized applications. It's like, is that really decentralized? Maybe not. Like, what if something becomes deprecated in one? It gets a little messy. And the JSON RPC schema will generate those. Basically, I don't have to get too much in the technicals, but it's basically gonna, and we'll have to propose. We'll propose this too, and probably an ESIP, but it would generate whatever you need to do those Web3 and Emerald JS stuff from the node directly, or from the Geth client. And that would make the dApp development environment way more leaner by removing like Web3, Emerald JS, all their libraries they have to add into your equation. Because developers as is, it's like you need to know a lot of languages, different libraries, all these different tooling. If you could get rid of one of those, and it just makes things a lot easier for people, and it's going to change how dApps are built all around. And I think not only will it benefit Ethereum Classic dApps, but I think anyone working on Ethereum, an Ethereum-based protocol will also be, I would hope they would be interested in making their environment a lot leaner too. And something we're also working on right now. We're kind of like helping to maintain Classic Geth, but we're also more interested into multi-Geth, and that has a lot of neat features. and we hope to build more upon that. And also we want to provide more documentation and tutorials and engaging the community, and that's all going to be fun. And
Yeah, you've got a long list there, and
oh yeah, long list.
I know
And
Ethernode has been talking about the JSON library that you mentioned.
oh yeah, they're super excited about that. Yeah, and they're not the only ones excited. Everyone I mentioned to, they're like, "Oh my gosh, yes, please! I don't want to use more libraries." And but also yeah, and Ethernode is a great project too. I think you could talk more about that too.
Yeah, since we've kind of gone over what the labs is bringing to the community, what the labs core team is building, yeah, let's talk about some of those projects. You've met all 11. Which ones stand out as working on exciting things for the ETC community?
Well, I would say like you mentioned, Ethernode. They're providing they're providing a node service because as far as when adoption comes, there's some people that don't really have the hardware knowledge or some of the the node administration knowledge to boot up nodes, and Ethernode is also providing that, and they're doing it in house, which is awesome. Because right now, there's surprisingly a lot of nodes people are leaning on AWS or other cloud service providers, right? And Ethernode contributing themselves. They're adding more diversification into the equation, and that adds to more decentralization, more parties, more diverse node providers is awesome. And they also believe in the philosophy of ETC and decentralization. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to be, they're pretty competent in what they value, and providing a good service and privacy is a big one. And what's really awesome is you could, depending on how fast your internet connection, you literally, I've tried Ethernode. You literally just boot a node in a few seconds. That's all it is. And anyone, if you could create an account on Facebook or something, you could boot your own Ethereum nodes and be a node operator just by using Ethernode, which is pretty awesome. And as far as adoption comes, people want to worry less about maintaining the blockchain stuff behind the scenes. Boot your node. There you go. And I think another one is Button Wallet. So Button Wallet, they provide. I've discovered them. I've discovered them not too long ago, but um, their wallet is like it's in a Telegram interface, like a chat interface, right? So you just add the Telegram bot, and and it's called Button Wallet because you literally just have chat buttons that you said press, send, whatever. And it's like super easy for absolute beginners. Like if you don't want to use like crypto wallets, they say, do you want to use gas, or do you want to set your gas? How much are you sending? Literally, it's literally just pressing a button. Even children can use it technically. It's so easy for absolute beginners. And I even encourage people I know who are not into the crypto. I'll be like, just get the Button Wallet. It's a lot simpler. It's a chat interface. Everyone has Telegram. Telegram's encrypted, and it supports ETC and other cryptocurrencies as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think both projects, stay within that supporting blockchain in general. The fact that it'll be easier for people to spin up a node with Ethernode, or something as simple as making a wallet. We say it's simple, but it's not. And the guys at Button have made the easiest onboarding process I've ever seen. I think I made my wallet within 2 minutes. So we're definitely going to put the links of both of them below the video, so you can sign up there. Stevan, it's been a pleasure. We learned so much today about ETC, about what ETC Labs is going to be doing, and kind of the state of the union. For everybody watching, this is our first video. We want ideas on what to call it, structure ideas. We're also going to be working on some new merch. So t-shirts, designs, logos, slogans, you name it. Give us all of your comments below, or you can add me or Stevan on Telegram, on Twitter. And that's a wrap. So take care and talk to you guys next week.
Take care.